So, ladies and gentlemen, we are introducing Mr. James Richmond. This is the hashtag IV. We're live on Instagram, which is crazy. James, welcome.
Why don't you start that again?
Is it live? It's live. We don't get to restart.
Are we actually on the live now?
We've got a few people in the studio causing trouble. We've got Luke, we've got Mike, we've got Al. Hello, Al. We've got Sang as well. He's somewhere. So we're here. It's the hashtag live podcast. We're here in Elaborate Grove Studios. I've invited my friend James Richmond along. We're having a few drinks. We're going to chat about him, his life, what he's been doing, how he's got here, and generally give a bit of advice for entrepreneurs and startups in 2019. One of the things my good friend is fantastic at is creating a business in the modern age. And I think that's what we're going to kind of focus on. But just to introduce him, just to give him a little bit of an intro. James was someone I met a few years ago. I'll give you some headlines. He left school at 14. He is a self-made man. I don't think he's really got any skills except the ones that he taught himself. He's charismatic, he's charming. He's also a hell of an arrogant motherfucker. That is the truth. And I'm sure you'll see that a little bit. But it serves him well and it gets him to where he needs to go. So James is always causing trouble. We'll talk a little bit about that. Some of the more controversial posts that he's done on social media will probably be what he's best known for. So without further ado,
all right, let's
take one. Over to James. James, tell me about your story. Who are you? What are you doing? How'd you get here?
I run a recruitment company that specialises within property and investment sector in London. As you can tell, I haven't.
This is your first podcast.
First podcast.
You're a virgin. Okay. Well, let's start at the beginning. Where did you come from? Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Born in Westminster. Grew up in London. Originally Stanmore. Moved to Arkley about 15 years ago.
Right.
Went to school at East Barnet School. And didn't go to university, finished school at 14.
So how did that happen? Tell me about that. Why did you leave school at 14?
I didn't really get on in school, so I didn't really have I was a bit of a difficult child, so I didn't really get on that well in school. I prefer to be out there working, I prefer to be out there making money, and I don't really like the whole kind of education route.
Yeah.
So it didn't really work for me. So I used to leave school. Used to go up to Chinatown. One of my friends, we'd sell SIM cards back in the day. We'd sell mobile phones, stuff like that. When you can actually obviously make money from selling mobile phones and SIM cards, and we'd just kind of get up to stuff to ultimately just try and make money. I didn't really like the whole kind of sitting down in a classroom, school.
And you literally did that at 14?
Started at 14, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what?
Question again?
So why did you think it was a good idea to leave rather than stay in school?
Do you know what? When you're 14, you just kind of go with the flow. You don't really have any. I wasn't really thinking at the time.
But your mum and dad let you leave school?
Well, some of the time they didn't know, and the other times they didn't really approve of it. But I think when I did get thrown out of school, I used to go and work in my mum's factory and do stuff for her, and it was it's kind of, they didn't obviously approve at the time, because the thing to do is obviously go to school, learn, get an education, go to uni, and then obviously leave uni, get a qualification and degree, and then kind of go into a job when you're like 24, 25. But
the fact is they couldn't stop you. They didn't stop you.
Well, it's not a case of they didn't stop me, they couldn't stop me. And that's not me being kind of arrogant. That's just like, if I want to do something, if people want to do something, they've got their mindset on something, especially when you've got ADHD and certain other things. When you're focused on something, you go for it, and no matter who tries to stop you,
I think that's very true. I won't, but I'm still surprised you managed to get that one over on your parents. I don't think there's many people here whose parents would let them do that. But as you say, you're quite determined. So then, okay, so that was your first job. What happened after? What was your proper first job when you weren't hustling in Soho?
Proper first job was used to work at a car wash, a jewelry shop. I've worked in Tesco. I've had like a lot of jobs.
Yep. And
I think where I had a lot of jobs from kind of the age of 16, obviously I was selling phones and doing odd bits when I was like 14, 16, but where I've had a lot of jobs from 16 onwards, it's given me not just kind of the work experience, but more the life experience as well, to be able to set up the business from when I turned 22 and be able to kind of not scale it, but be able to run a business and have those life skills and actual working skills.
School of life.
Basically,
yeah. So, okay, so...
We have a question from our Facebook Live.
Go on, what's the question?
Here we go.
Nico says,
Oh.
are you a hacker?
Are you a hacker?
Me or you?
No, I think that's...
A hacker in terms of computer hacker.
Yeah, I think in terms of hacking the system, it's a good question. Yeah, hacking life. Are you a hacker?
Well, I made a lot of mistakes. I've fucked up a lot. So I've learned a lot of lessons as well. So
Understand the system.
Do you know the system? Can you break the system?
in terms of what?
Was that your superpower? Is that your ADHD superpower? Can you that's what I'm leading towards.
I suppose you could say that. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll take an eye. All right. So let's move on. Talk about how you kind of moved eventually towards what you're doing now. There's obviously a little bit of commonality you and I have got in backgrounds in terms of places we work. So talk a little bit about that process in the next few years after you discovered your hustling skills.
Into that and ended up becoming an estate agent. At, where did I first start? Started at a company called Anthony Pepe in Haringey.
Yep.
And it's a great company. I learned a lot there. That's when I did recruitment for 1 month. Did IT recruitment. Absolutely hated it. I was dealing with like C# developers and people in IT, and I'm not techie at all. So yeah, I was there for 4 weeks or 5 weeks. They actually fired me because my head was in it for the first couple of weeks.
A little bit of a repetitive theme with this firing. How many times have you
I think I got fired from every company. London Residential actually gave me the chance to resign. So
it's decent, very decent. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I got fired from every other company. And went into recruitment for about 4 or 5 weeks. Didn't really like it. Didn't see myself doing that, so I went back home, started applying for jobs. After I got sacked, went back home, started applying for jobs, and I thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to open a recruitment company. So obviously I did it in property because I worked at 5 different property companies in the space of a year,
right?
And had a lot of contacts. Even though I'd been fired from the companies, it wasn't because I really did anything wrong. It's more kind of I had one eye on their business and making them money, and one eye on doing my own thing.
Cool. So those of us who are got our own companies, we have been fired a number of times. It hasn't worked out the employment route.
Best thing that happened was I got fired, because if I didn't get fired, I probably wouldn't still be there. But it kind of speeded up the process of me actually opening my own business because I was unemployable.
I think whatever it is, it's like you can't work in a system that's not your own. I think that's part of the problem, and I think I don't
like being told what to do.
Well, I'm familiar with that.
That's the main problem.
I think that is it, and we'll talk about it a bit later about the special needs. Something that I shared some space with you as well, but it's a little bit to do with that. It's like it's not your system. Your system works. Anyone else's system is flawed. And I think that's
true to a certain extent.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving on. You decided to go into your own business. You've been working, as you say, for someone else, keeping an eye on your own business, but you actually decided to do it. What made you decide to do it? A lot of people we meet every single day who we think are very high quality don't do what you did.
I'll tell you why I decided to do it. Number one, I'm unemployable, so no one will really employ me after I had that amount of jobs. Number two, I don't like the typical 9 till 5 working for someone else and get paid once a month. I want to be paid every single week, and I want to do what I want to do and kind of build something that's your own. Why are you going to build someone else's business, do the whole 9 till 5 bullshit, 65 years and then retire? What are you going to do when you're 65? Most people are dead by the time they're 65.
But this is an interesting point. This is a very interesting point. We see this constantly, and I see it constantly. I see people I work with in companies I've worked with who I consider far better at what they do than me, far smarter, far quicker, far higher standard, but they'll never do what you and I have done.
Doesn't matter if they're clever. They need to have like the line inside them to go out and do it. And I think the main thing, the question that you're probably getting to later, but I'm just going to bring it up now, is forgot actually.
Is it stupid? I honestly, I think it's stupidity. I honestly think a little bit of it.
Startup companies. That's the question. We'll get to it later as well, but I'm just going to say this while I'm on the subject.
Go on.
Startup companies. I think the main thing when you go to start up a company is don't overthink and have a kind of a fuck it moment where you're literally like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Because I never overthought JR recruitment at all. I had a couple of conversations, went out to meet people, and I didn't really know anything about recruitment because when I started in recruitment, I was a junior. And I literally, the way that I kind of learnt recruitment was I'd go and meet clients that I actually knew, and I'd say, look, what are you being charged by the recruiters? Do you have a job spec? And what's your rebate? What's your fee and stuff like that? What are your agreed terms? I'll just kind of copy it. And that's how I learned. And I think most of the way I've winged it to a certain extent. I haven't actually been in a course. I haven't worked as a manager in a company, and I winged it to a certain extent, and that's kind of what's got me this far. But obviously you need to start kind of doing things not properly, but you need to have a bit of structure. And I think that's the thing that I struggled with, was building structure within the business.
So yeah, I mean, that's interesting, is that you were very good at kind of blagging and
Mouth's really dry.
You're very good at blagging, getting to the space where you could kind of look and feel the part, but actually to build the business took a whole nother level, which is probably the first point you get to.
Do you know the problem,
Go on.
Is I can do recruitment very, very well because it's a sales job, all right? You're finding a candidate, you're finding a client, you're matching them, you're negotiating the salary. And the way that I describe it to people, it's like two lines, and it's kind of the deal is getting the lines as close as possible, but from the start. So what you don't want to do is have someone looking for, say, 20 grand, a client looking for, say, looking to spend, say, 15 or so, just for an example.
Yeah.
And then you need to negotiate the deal, and you need to educate both sides from the start. So the deal, once the candidate goes there, the client likes them, the deal's already done, the deal's set up.
Absolutely.
And I think that's basic sales. And I think the problem in the business is I'm very, very good at people, me trying to teach people how to do it, because no one's actually taught me how to do it, and I've just kind of had the initiative to do it. That's been the hardest thing in the business, is actually training people to do it like I do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, if there were 20 or 5 or 3 James Richmonds, you'd be laughing.
Look, if I can, what's it called? What's it called when you make the same person?
Replicate?
No, not replicate.
Photocopy?
No, when you fucking clone. That's
clone.
It. If I can clone 100
Academy.
I'll be a multi-billionaire. But the hopefully in a couple of years I can. But
I think I call it stupidity. I think there's a moment in every entrepreneur's fuck it moment. You called it. Absolutely, it is a fuck it moment. But I see it as there's a little bit of stupidity. I mentioned all those people I'd worked with previously who were smarter, quicker, all the things, more experience, but they don't do what I do. Why? Well, yes, you could say you have a fuck it moment. You could also say you're a little bit more stupid and a little bit more stubborn. Let's not say stupid. Let's say stubborn than the rest. And I see that in a range of different people. You know, we were chatting to Aaron Cox the other day, both of us, and Aaron's a great example. He's a stubborn bastard. He's just going to do it because you told him he couldn't. And actually, this is about you, but to pick out that moment for me that made me change my life and go in a certain direction, have energy and aggression to do it, it was when people told me I couldn't do something. Tell me I can't do something and I will literally say, fuck you, I can do it. And that will be the only reason. There's no logic to that.
Yeah.
It is literally just shit. Fuck you, I'm gonna do it. And I mean, that I think there's no logic to that. I mean, Sang who's sitting over here, who's a trader, would never follow that bet. There's no logic to it. But eventually someone wins. You keep doubling up long enough, you eventually come right. And I think that's it, isn't it? As an entrepreneur, has to keep going no matter what. And I mean, we can talk about that.
I think
as
it's
well.
a case of not listening to, because the thing is, everyone's got something negative to say. If you tell someone your business idea, even your mum, your dad, your brother, your sister, whatever, someone will always come up with a problem.
Yep.
So I think the best thing to do is keep it to yourself and just fucking do it. If you think it's a good idea, you believe in it,
Yep.
you genuinely think you can make it work,
go
and do it. Why are you going to ask other people's opinion? Like, what's their opinion matter? Like,
I think that's a big maturing phase. I don't think everyone has it. I think often we are affected by what other people think, and when you get to the point where you don't, then you're free, because it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. You know you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I had, I don't know if it was anything for you, but growing up with special needs and never actually knowing I had them until a certain age, it was when people said calm down. It was when people said don't get so excited. I was like, fuck you, that's me. That is literally me, and you're telling me not to be myself, and it actually hurt. So yeah, I kind of think there's a little bit of, the psyche, which is almost like if you prod them, they're going to fucking blow up and start. And that's a little bit, that's great. It's a double-edged sword. Like, it's great to be aggressive. It can get you a long way. It can also cause trouble. Talk to me about some of the impulsiveness which has got you in trouble through your business. I'm sure that's happened.
I think a part of it was hiring the wrong people. So some of the people that I've hired are very, very good. Some aren't, but that obviously comes down to my mistakes. I think leaving the business for other people to run when I went traveling. I was in the country and out the country every other month, and I took my eye off the ball. I opened up an investment company. It started going very, very well. And I kind of left the recruitment company to kind of run itself. I think taking my eye off the ball, making rash hiring decisions, signing into certain contracts, like phone contracts, that I kind of, in the business, previously it's very much about ego. It's very much about having the best website, having the best phone system, having kind of the best advertising. And ultimately it comes down to, when I first started the business, I made £10,000. I went from making £10,000 a year in estate agents, and I left, I went into recruitment. And then the month I opened the recruitment company, all right, within the space of a couple of months, I went from making £10,000 a year, opened the recruitment company, I made £10,000 or £8,900 from week 0 to week 4 from opening the recruitment company. I think it was ego. All right, I think it was ego about having the best of everything.
Yeah.
And the point that I was getting at actually is before I had the website, before I had the advertising, before I had the staff and anything like that, I made £8,900 going from £10,000 a year, so 8,900, let's call it 10 grand. So I went from making £10,000 a year to making £10,000 in 1 month. And I think that kind of dramatic change went to my head a bit, and I wanted to get staff, wanted to get the offices, wanted to have the best website, the best advertising, all this bullshit. And I didn't really think of, hang on a minute, I was using my mom's computer, I had a cracked iPhone 5 or something like that, and I generated from nothing £8,900.
And you went spent it all.
Why exactly? Why do I need the best of everything when I can generate that money without having all this amazing advertising, the best website, and all this bullshit kind of behind it?
So this is a good point as well to, I think, stop for a second and go, this podcast is, amongst other things about you, but it's trying to give advice to people who do want to start new businesses. And, I've made the same mistakes.
9 out of 10 fail, so just give up and go work.
Well, yeah, give up, guys. No, but the ones who don't, the ones who are kind of like me and James saying you can't do it, fuck you. Those are the ones I would say the following to, because I've done what you've done, not just once, I've done it a few times. And it's getting ahead of yourself. And I think the one thing I might have learned, hopefully by this, age that I'm at, is that actually you've got to, in a new company, you've got to safeguard profits. You've got to protect it. You've got to build them up, and you've got to build them into something as an asset, not necessarily spend them straight away, because once you spend them, they're gone. And then there's a reliance on where you've got to then make more. So investing in infrastructure is great as long as it brings in, revenue. But investing in ego will only leave you in one place, And I think that's probably
that's the mistakes I made. I spent too much on the website. I spent too much on staff. Not the staff that I brought on some new staff, and I think I was paying people too much and giving them too much before they proved themselves. And the advertising, we had too much advertising, it wasn't being used properly. The not the website, the database CRM system wasn't being used properly. We didn't really utilize the tools that we had, and that comes down to my bad management. It's no one else's fault. It's my fault because the business fucked up. But it's just a case of kind of looking at where I've made mistakes and not making the same mistakes, and then ultimately you learn a lesson. It's not a mistake.
Well, look, you've got to a good place now. I mean, I often joke about your lifestyle, but you have downsized your business to a point where you are generating, I believe, a significant income. We won't talk about numbers here, but you live a great lifestyle. You are living in Cyprus part of the year, is that right? Or most of the year?
Cyprus, Thailand and London.
Cyprus, Thailand and London. It's okay, so tell us about Cyprus, tell us about Thailand.
Do you know what? I moved to Cyprus last year. I think it was June last year. Well, actually it was like May or April time, but I moved into the flat in June. Cyprus is good in the summer. It's shit in the winter. There's not a lot going on. I think it's a great country to live in, but when you're a bit older, I've kind of got a bit bored of it now.
You were telling me a week after moving, you were like, yeah, Nash, because I'm living in Cyprus now. I was like, mate, you've been there a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're tired of it now. You're bored of Cyprus.
Do you know, I'm not bored of it. I think it's good, but not full time. That's why what I do is I split my time. So I'll go to Thailand for a month. I'll come back to the UK for a week and a half, 2 weeks. Then I'll go to Cyprus for 2 weeks.
So I think we've got to really actually highlight on that. How the hell do you do that when you are the only person working your business and significant business that it is? How's that possible?
I'm fucking good at what I do. That's why. I'm the bollocks at what I do. Go on.
Couple of questions, all right.
Okay, so Nicola says, if you were to employ someone,
Partly, I reckon.
would you rate experience or qualifications above or below personality and attitude?
Ooh.
Wait, sorry, who is this?
This is one of the viewers called Nicola. We don't know.
Nicola what?
Answer the question.
What's the question again?
Yeah. If you were to employ someone, would you rate experience / qualifications above or below personality / attitude?
No, 100%. I employ on attitude. I don't give a shit. Like, excuse my language,
That's
but
fine.
I don't give a shit about the qualifications and their experience stuff. I'll basically employ people. Oh, sorry. I'll employ people on attitude.
Okay.
But because the thing is, you can teach people to do a certain thing, but you can't teach people attitude. You can't teach them to come in early, stay late. You can't teach them certain things, but you can, yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Interesting. And our next question.
Made it sound like it wasn't amazing.
Aaron
Aaron,
Cox.
Coxie, yeah.
James, tell us what makes you so irresistible to women and Nash.
and Nash. Wait, is that him being irresistible to me, or is it that Nash is also irresistible to women? I think it's that. What? Okay, so why? Yeah.
What's the question then?
Sorry about that.
Why are you so irresistible to women and Nash?
What the hell? I think he's jealous that you're on the podcast before him. Aaron's not a real person.
Should we move on to the next one? Sorry, Aaron. Can you ask a different question? You caught me on.
Aaron, take this seriously, mate. Okay, you're giving up your evening. Take it seriously. Right.
Yeah.
Moving on. All right. Okay.
Moving on. Next question.
All right. So why don't we do some? Oh no! Wait. Before we do the quickfire questions, should we do the quickfire question first? Then should we
should we
talk
do
about
quickfire questions?
Well, should we do the quickfire questions? Then should we talk about?
What are we going to ask? We're going to ask like.
No, but I want to talk about, which we've got to talk about. We've got to talk about how we met, because that is a fan. But we're not going to talk about it yet. We're going to do the quickfire questions first. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. You ready?
Yeah.
Are you sure you're fiddling with your bits? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Quickfire questions. If you could go to uni, what would you study?
I'll study law.
Yeah.
Because the amount of people that want to fucking sue me.
Probably spend a lot of money on lawyers as well. All right, favourite chocolate?
Favourite chocolate? Quality Street?
That's not a chocolate.
Yes, it is.
How is that a chocolate?
Yes, it is.
That's a range of chocolates.
All right.
It's like the most
Give me a...
chocolate.
How is it a fucking chocolate? That's bullshit. Right, come on. Give me a fucking chocolate. What's your favourite chocolate?
The strawberry one in Quality Street.
Oh my God. Doesn't have a name. Doesn't even have a name. Probably does. Okay, Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram, because I don't use Twitter.
Right, okay. No one does anything anymore.
Can people hear me on this? Because the mic's falling off.
Literally, you're looking at anything you say, yeah. Okay. If you were another person, would you be friends with you?
Hell no.
No. Right, least favourite thing about yourself?
Probably having a split personality where, where 1 minute I'm completely normal, and next minute I'm a fucking psycho.
Yep.
I hope none of my clients are watching this.
Yeah.
Probably having a bit of bipolar moments where 1 minute I've got my business head on and things are going well, and next moment I'll have a bit of a crazy moment and then go and target competitors and do some.
Well, we'll definitely talk about that. Some of your more controversial stuff. No, we'll definitely cover. Right, quickfire. Any tattoos?
31.
Bloody hell. 31 tattoos.
Some on my hands. I've got Arabic here. I've got Italian there. I've got knees. I've got.
Yeah, let's get some close-ups. Nice.
A few.
Right. Is that the one? Is that the one?
That's the Arabic one.
No battery. Put it on charge. Yeah. No problems. Yeah, you can put it on charge. Okay. All right. Lovely. Favorite music? Bit boring, isn't it?
Probably between hip hop and like James Arthur and kind of Lewis Capaldi. Is it Capaldi? I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, I'm not cultured enough to know this. Okay.
I don't know what it's called though. That genre.
I know the answer to this, but cats or dogs? Wow.
But dogs. Wow. But I like all animals, so you can't really ask me that.
You are an animal person, right? Humans or animals?
Oh come on, man. Animals.
Don't even ask questions. Embarrassing questions. Yeah.
Probably dog, because I've grown up with them and I've always had them and they're pretty loyal. Yeah, probably dogs.
I'd like to highlight that you didn't answer my question properly.
I like beef burgers.
Sang's favourite animal is cows because he likes beef burgers. It was cats or dogs. You're done. You said dogs.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Let's move on because this is something we do want to talk about, and it's what a great story. Probably one of the best stories I could tell, and I tell it a lot. Let's talk about how we met.
Needs to be very careful for slander on this.
There's no slander.
Just in case anyone.
We will only absolutely. There won't be any slander. No.
How we met. So, I was working with a company.
No, you were working for your own company. You had JR Recruitment.
No, sorry. I mean, I was working for a client.
Right.
You started with a client as the.
We can't mention the client's name.
Probably not advisable.
No. Okay.
We have lawsuits. That's why I said at uni I'd study law.
Let's call them code. Let's get a code name.
It's Oliver's Town, isn't it? So.
Well, okay. Let's not say Oliver's Town. Let's say Ollie's.
So you were. If we say facts, we're not going to get done for slander.
Okay. So I was working.
You're working for a company.
Yes.
The company told you to use me for recruitment because we're the best company for recruitment.
You were fantastic.
In London for property and investments, obviously. And I came to meet you. We placed a couple of people with you.
Yep, good people.
The owner, I've been told, has certain problems. One being bipolar. I don't know whether that's true or not. Obviously,
Well, you're related then. You're like brethren, you're cousins, you know.
And something happened with you and the company.
Well, I left. Basically, what happened was I started at the company. We engaged with you for services, which was great. And then subsequently, I left. We won't mention where or how because I think it's embarrassing.
We still doing the live thing, by the way.
We're still live. Yeah, it's still
Where
live.
is it?
Live's over there.
Uh-huh.
So I
Should you
ended
see if
up.
there's any questions?
Can we?
Sorry,
Fucking
Karen.
hell, you and your ADHD, bro.
That's
Listen,
really boring.
I know, yeah, no, can you shut the fuck up? No, he does this a lot.
Let's
No,
get the questions.
yeah, no, but more importantly, so what happened was I engaged with you. You found us some employees.
Yeah.
I left the company, shortly after. Then what happened, James?
The company basically didn't pay us for the employees that we put in the business. Tried to make various excuses and stuff. So we issued proceedings against the company, which was in the Daily Mail, it was in the Ham and High newspaper, it was in various newspapers. And obviously we won the court case. And the owner of the company went outside, went across the road, keyed my car, and he then got arrested, and then that went in the newspaper as well. So there were 2 articles about the court case in the newspaper.
Right, okay. You tell it in a very succinct way. I'm going to go into a bit more detail. This is what happened. I mean, this was a crazy story. Oliver goes to court with James. Clearly, because we had engaged with James, he lost the court case. He then, as soon as he was fined, which wasn't, you had to pay the bill he owed you.
Yeah.
He went and paid it on his,
£5 or £6
I don't know, put it on his card straight away. Bang, he was straight out of there.
Well, I paid it, yeah.
Paid it straight away. The guys are substantial guys. No disrespect to him.
Do you know what it is? It's obviously about the money, but I think business, if you back down to people, you're going to get walked all over. You need to stand your ground in business.
I don't know what was wrong with this guy, but he basically left.
In the head,
yeah, absolutely. He left. He left after paying the bill. He walks out of the court. James, as I remember, tells the story like this. James says, "You know what? I didn't want to rub his nose in it, so I stayed back. I wanted to be a bit respectful." He walked out, so I let him walk outside. He was with another lady, I believe.
Well, when you win, you don't kind of like...
You don't want to rub it in their face. Right, absolutely. I think that's right. He comes outside and he sees Oliver, hashtag Oliver, which is his code name, keying his car. You started calling the police. He ran into a pub to get away from you.
He was hiding in a pub, yeah.
He was hiding in a pub. You went round the back, or the police went round the back. You went round the front.
I was holding him up against a wall for a minute. He basically brought out his key, so I was standing back seeing what he was going to do. Then he walked into a pub, and then called the police because obviously that's the best thing to do. It was all on CCTV, obviously.
Yeah.
And he got arrested, and then he had to pay the damage for the car on top of the
this is a man, and how old was this man? This man's in his 50s
56 at the time, and this was 2 years ago.
He looks like
so he'd be
66 because obviously bad living. The guy's probably, a couple of bevies too much. But I mean, generally, what we're looking at here is a successful man in his 50s, trying to do a young man out of, you're an arrogant wanker, I don't blame him, but trying to do you out of what you're owed, and then walks outside after he loses a court case and keys your car.
Do you know what it is? You win some, you lose some. You don't act like a bitch after you've lost.
So true. I mean, you know what? We've been in business long enough to know if you've got someone who wants to knock you for a bill, it's about whether you want to make the effort to get it paid or not. I mean, that's the truth. But when someone goes out and takes that sort of action,
do you know what it is? That's taking it on a personal level rather than business. Business is business.
Yeah.
All right. If someone fucks me over in business, I'll take it on the chin. I'll be like, you know what, you won. All right, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But if you want to do something personal, I could take it personal as well. So it's kind of like that was quite unprofessional what he did, because you've lost, you need to suck it up and deal with it. Just as in certain situations in business, I've lost as well. So you suck it up and deal with it. You don't take it on a personal level.
Yep.
But it's kind of, it worked out in my favor, but because of the publicity, because of that, it was in the Daily Mail, it was in the Ham and High, it was in the estate agency today, it was in various newspapers, and it got a couple of 100,000 views as well. So it worked out in my favor that I actually got clients and candidates off the back of it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
No, look, I think it's a really good point to make. That is a lesson for business, and that is a tremendous lesson for business. It's the idea that actually, you do have to take losses, and when you take losses, take them on the chin.
Suck it up and deal with
Suck
it.
it
Move on
up.
to the next one.
Move on.
Should we take 5?
You want a 5-minute break? We're going to go for a 5-minute break, guys.
5-minute
Hang on, keep watching. We'll see you in 5.
Yeah.
Right, we're getting serious now. We're getting serious. Let's talk about the property market, Mr. Richmond.
Do you want to start?
I have no opinion. I literally have no opinion other than, taking down other people's opinions. So tell me what your opinion is.
I think the property market at the moment it's a great time to buy. Terrible time to sell. Apparently the central London market's got down about 20%. I think it's good for investors, but people that only have maybe like a couple of properties, they're looking to put their property on the market. It's not a good time to sell at the moment, due to a number of factors, one of them being Brexit.
I mean, they say a market is a good market when it's going up or going down. Do
you know what it is?
The transactions are happening when the market's going down nonetheless.
The UK is always a good market to invest in. The UK, whether that be Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, Central London, it's always good to put your money there because it's safe. Whether it goes down, it's always going to go back up. But it depends if you're looking for a yield like per month or per year, or if you're looking for capital growth. It depends on the kind of investor that you are. So
I think our conversation isn't really about property. You and I are probably not the biggest property experts. I certainly don't want to tell you what
I don't follow it as much as I used to because I'm not in that game anymore. I'm more in recruitment, looking at.
But this is my point. How does it affect your market? You are specifically recruitment for property. So how does the market affect your
Yes
your game?
And no. We're recruitment for property, but not necessarily buying and selling. We're predominantly investments now.
Right.
Property management, block management, asset management. I think those companies that have recurring revenue are still very, very strong.
The ones who are strong in management, basically.
Basically, yeah. Because it's recurring revenue, yeah.
So I mean, you are specific, as we say, to the property market, where it's not necessarily sales, but it's the entire property
market, the whole, as a whole.
So what are you looking for? There's a lot of people watching. A lot of your followers are candidates. What are you looking for in the ideal person to put into these property jobs? What are you looking for?
Someone good, someone hardworking, someone that has a bit of experience, someone that's motivated, someone that understands the property market. And unfortunately, a lot of the candidates nowadays are shit. And that's the bottom line. People, compared to kind of like 5 or 6 years ago, people don't want to work the hours. They don't want to, what's it called? They want to start on like really high salaries. I think people need to kind of get knocked down a level.
Is this a new thing? Is it a millennial thing? Is it a people thing?
What does millennial mean?
Well, it's someone who's been born around the millennium. I think from, I'll be wrong here, but from maybe the mid 90s through to just after.
I think these youngsters nowadays need to fucking graft and basically work for basically build themselves up rather than coming in and demanding this and this. They need to go into a company and progress within the company and not really worry about, if you're living at home and you don't really have any expenses, why are you going to worry about what you're making per month? Why don't you go to a good company where you can learn, where you can progress, where you can have a good manager, good guidance, and then basically learn? I think learning is more important than what you're making per month. So now anyway.
When you you must get good, bad, ugly, all types of candidates. What sort of proportion? When do you get that one candidate? How many does it take? 10, one every 10, one every 20?
Depends on the job. What are we talking? Letting, sales, investments, property management?
Yeah, what percentage of people that come through your door are people who you feel are good candidates without any coaching or anything else improving them?
It's quite a broad question. 1 out of 50,
wow.
1 out of 60.
Wow.
We get a lot of applications, but most of them are shit. I'll be honest with you, they're shit.
That's a challenge.
They don't have the experience. They've been 3 months in a job, 2 months in a job, 1 month, then 6 months and 8 months. So I'm not going to go and place you with one of my clients if you can't even stick in a job for a couple of months.
So really, what you're saying is, if you get someone shit through the door, you don't do anything with them.
Hell no.
No. Okay. Very interesting. Okay.
I'm gonna waste my time. I get a lot of applications.
So your job's hard enough on that side. You're dealing with lots of candidates. You want to find the right one. What about on the other side with the clients you deal with? What are your frustrations? What's the problem?
I think there's a number of frustrations. One being some of the clients still hire as if they were hiring 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is they do second and third and sometimes fourth stage interviews. And a lot of the companies now, if you get someone good, they'll offer fairly quickly. So what I'm finding is we're losing a lot of good candidates, and they're still offering the same salaries they'd offer 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think clients need to be educated on the obviously salary increases and looking at the market. And also, if you like someone, you think they're good, offer.
So in pursuit of you finding the ideal candidate, you've occasionally maybe made a few posts that are a little bit controversial, would you say?
Yeah, you can say that.
Got any examples for us? I'll definitely be putting some across overlaid now, so you'll see some examples. But any?
You know what? I've got one that had about 350,000 views. It's in the newspaper. It was on LinkedIn. That's where I initially put it, and it is basically saying the younger generation, and I'm talking like 18, 19, 20, 21, that kind of generation, fucking lazy. Like, they want high basics. They don't want to work the hours. They don't want to graft. They're lazy. And I think this is the problem. A lot of people nowadays, especially young people, they don't really want to work for it. They just want to go into a high paying job and basically get everything before they prove themselves.
So some of the issues I've seen you call out occasionally is the way people present themselves. I think hoop earrings is a big, what's it called? Something you don't really like. Hoop earrings?
No.
Big no, thank you.
I think the most recent post, by the way, we've got the camera. It's all right, yeah. I think my most recent post is don't apply for my jobs if you've got 3 kids, you're on benefits, and you've got hoop earrings, you eat chicken nuggets every fucking night.
Is that legal? Can you say that?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, but you do.
Do you know what it is? I get a lot of people apply for my jobs, and a lot of the time they're applying, I'm going to say this openly, they're applying because when you're on benefits, you need to show that you're applying for jobs.
Yeah.
Don't waste my fucking time, so I'm not going to speak to you.
Amazing. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are some of the challenges you do. Okay.
Yeah,
well, I mean, but also, you're using social media in a certain way. I mean, you're one of the few people that go out there and really wear your heart on your sleeve, talk, say the things you want to. I remember one post in particular where you were taking down a recruiter, I think it was from the north, who had put on some stupid advert about wanting 9 to 5 or something like that, and you got into a massive argument with them. So I mean, it seemed to me like that was very much part of your brand. Is that fair to say?
Can't remember about that one.
It was something to do with James Caan's company. One of James. You have a particular thing about James Caan, don't you?
Not really. One of his companies is one of our kind of direct competitors, and we've had a bit of what's
the wrath of Khan.
I don't dislike him. I admire what he's done. I think he's done very, very well. We've got a direct competitor where he owns a large percent of the company, and we've come head to head quite a few times, and the owner of the company is very, very weak mentally, and I take advantage of that, and I take the piss out of him.
Absolutely, in public.
in public, and at one point they actually got the police involved, and then I had to kind of calm it down.
You had to calm it down.
But no more about that before I get done for any more lawsuits.
You are very, very vociferous in all your posts about animals. You obviously care deeply about animals. Talk to us about that.
What do you want me to say?
Well, if people disappointed you.
Do you know what it is? I think animals are too good for people. I think a lot of people mistreat animals and dogs and cats, whatever the animal is. But yeah, no, I've done a lot of posts about that previously.
So you do obviously care a lot. You've got a dog. You're very close. to
Yeah, I've grown up with dogs. I go to Thailand every other month. I go and feed the stray animals, cats and dogs, and go to like the dog pounds and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's a big thing for you.
Yeah.
So you do have a heart.
Do you know what it is? I think I'm kind of, they can't speak and they can't tell you how they feel, and
I mean, I'm poking fun at you, but at the same time, I think there is an element of human beings sometimes disappointing you. I think a lot of it, I understand that feeling as well, and we're going to move on to something which is a little bit more personal now, and something you've mentioned, something I talk about a lot, which is special needs. And, being on the spectrum, whether it be autism, whether it be ADHD, dyspraxia, all the various, kind of what you would call mental challenges that, well, I wouldn't call them mental. I think that's almost disrespectful. I'd call them non-neurotypical challenges that maybe we have to deal with, which in some cases have been detrimental to our lives, and in some cases have been massive positives. So let's talk about that. I mean, do you want to tell people, your story? You told me in confidence a long time ago. I'm asking you to kind of talk about it. If you're happy to tell people what goes on in your head.
What goes on in my head? Well, I can't even remember what I did yesterday.
How special needs?
So I've been diagnosed with very mild autism,
right?
ADHD and bipolar.
Okay.
Hence why I'm sometimes a bit crazy and sometimes a bit normal. Do you know what it is? I think it affected me more as a kid, and it still obviously affects me, but not as much.
Yep.
I think it plays a big part in kind of being outspoken and not really giving a shit, because I don't really look at the consequences. And it's affected me in the past. I've lost clients from it. I've lost candidates from it. But then some of the controversial posts, I've gained clients and candidates. So it's kind of evened out. So yeah, I think it affected me more when I was younger, because they didn't really. When I was growing up, I was born in '91, so I'm 27 now. I think I'm 27.
I think you're 27.
I think I'm 27.
You're 28 by the time we finish this. Yeah.
28 in September.
It's a different world.
So yeah, I think back in the day when I was at school, they didn't really understand it as much as they know now.
Yep.
And I think they obviously, they kind of get it a bit more now, and they have special schools and stuff for it. But I don't really see it as being a problem, because my brain works slightly differently to the average
Well, let's say
person, which has helped me out in business.
Well, I was going to say, what's the advantages to it? Where have you gained that edge that's helped you?
Do you know what? I'm not really sure the answer to that question. I think one of them is I don't really think about consequences, so I will just go and do something, and sometimes that pays off and goes really well, and other times it doesn't.
Yeah. Look, I see you, I know you quite well, and I think, that definitely is one of the things. You're someone who's got a strong vision, and you're very driven to get it, and you definitely won't take no for an answer. Myself, I've had a massive, I would say, ADHD, not blight, but certainly challenge my whole life. And part of it is you move very fast. Moving fast is great when you're getting stuff done, but when you're missing things from moving fast, it becomes a double-edged sword. So I think it's definitely a part of the edge. And I think, more people need to recognize these things, because a lot of people, I've met a lot of these guys in therapy and all sorts of things I've done since I got diagnosed. You see that these are massive skill sets, but at the same time, we're probably quite lucky we've developed those skill sets. Other people are massively inhibited by them. And if there's one thing I'd love to do, and this is the truth, I'd love to be able to work a little bit more with people who are on the spectrum, who can't work in traditional jobs, but who do want to make their mark. Because I think that's one thing that's probably quite common with special needs people. They definitely want to do something significant. They do want to do something different, and there's a certain drive that goes with it, possibly because of the challenges we experience. I'm saying less so. I don't feel like I had masses of challenges, but I do feel that, this is something that I'd like to do. So I don't know if it appeals to you in that way. I don't think do you ever see people who are similar to yourself, who have got similar attributes to yourself, and you think, okay, I get it?
Not really, no.
You're unique. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a question.
Go on.
Which
on the Instagram or
on the Facebook.
Oh, was it? Whose was it?
It was the same lady that asked the question about attitude or skill.
So yeah.
So she said afterwards, given your attitude, that you have obviously had lots of different jobs and not had the best attitude, how does that reflect on your...
I suppose I'm a bit of a hypocrite.
Okay. Also, do you think then that by having the attitude...
So if you met yourself, so if you interviewed yourself, would you be...
If I interviewed myself, I would never employ me.
You'd never hire yourself?
No, hell no.
That's interesting.
I'd either have a fight in the office or I'll get sacked for doing something stupid. That's kind of the reality of it. But I think from where I've gone wrong and the mistakes I've made, I know what makes a good employee.
Right.
Don't ask me what makes.
I was about to ask. Oh,
aliens.
Aliens.
Do you know what? I saw that film with that fat geezer in it. What's his name?
Oh, the English guy.
I think so. Yeah, the one that's in Shaun of the Dead.
Paul. Yeah. Paul.
That's the one.
Very good film.
Yeah, it's quite a good film.
You liked it? I liked it.
Yeah. But no, I don't believe in aliens.
So no worries. Okay, so we're gonna, unless we've got any more questions from the floor, people. No. Luke.
What is it that if you had one piece of advice to give to someone starting off where you went, what would you give?
The main advice I'll say is just fuck it, just do it. I think the worst thing that you can do is overthink. Do you have a question?
I'll go on for that one. Yeah. So I would say my advice to everyone, because you're going to make mistakes, you've got a bit of ego in there, you're going to do things which you can't necessarily control. So you need to have mistakes, you need to make mistakes, and you need to never give up. Bottom line, if you give up, you never give yourself a chance to win. You could be one mission away from actually succeeding. So never give up. Hashtag.
JL Recruitment.
JL Recruitment. Keep going. All right, guys. So we're going to wrap it up now. That's been a great session. Thank you, James. It's been awesome to kind of hear a little bit about your take on life, take on business, and everything that's got you there. So great to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you too.
Really enjoyed it. And guys, we're signing off.